Israel and across the country, they're able to actually dissect the cannabis plant and to figure out how many different opportunities there are to actually help patients along the way. The type of research that they are doing in Israel and other countries, we will then be able to do here in the United States. And on top of that, insurance companies will be able to start covering this as part of the co-pays and annual visits, lowering the cost of our healthcare industry. And marijuana users will be able to get off of the highly addicted opioids and start paying part of their health cover insurance. It also frees up money and resources for other usages at the federal and state level. It breaks up and helps our banking regulations. As most of you know, back in 2018, I stood upstairs and announced that Wells Fargo had shut down my campaign account because I was taking funds from the cannabis industry. That created a storm across the entire country, the recognition of what was happening in the banking side. This will also deal with taxes to all of our marijuana companies across the country. And in 2018, it was a promise that I continued to make that we've got to make sure that we're opening up banking. Because what banking does is allows more capital to come into this industry. Because what's happening right now is that so many of these marijuana companies are cash poor, which means they can't reduce the cost to the patients across our state and across our country. When it is reclassified correctly, we'll finally have appropriate also workforce protections. Too many people are still being fired for usages of this medicine, whether it is our teachers, our first responders, people inside of government, not only here in the state but across the federal government. And we have been huge advocates for those individuals who may have been fired for testing positive, not only here in government employees, but also when it even comes to military and military prosecution. And it will also open up the VA benefits to our veterans who want to be able to use cannabis as another form of dealing with any of their pains or PTSD. President Biden also called on governors across the country to pardon simple state cannabis possession offenses. So let me be very clear. Governor DeSantis, we need to do exactly that. We are having our next clemency meeting on December 14th in this hall right behind me in the cabinet room. So today I am asking, and I am sending a formal letter asking that this issue be included in our next clemency board agenda. What we are seeing at the federal level is extraordinary, an extraordinary step forward in the name of justice for the victims of unjust sentencing whose lives have been upended and even destroyed. It is imperative that we do the same thing here in the state level. And that is why we are here today, to recognize what President Biden did last Thursday and asking our state government to follow suit and to do right by the millions upon millions of Floridians that are still sitting either in jail for simple possession charges or whose lives have been upended because of the prosecution of these charges. So, Governor, it is time to stand united on this issue and to be together as we move the ball forward and do right by the people of our state. This is a celebration that we all should get behind. So thank you. I'll take questions.
Any idea of how many people potentially be impacted in the state? I know that it's kind of hard to parse the data from corrections. The best I can see is that there are a lot of drug offenders in Florida prisons, but we just don't really have a specific number unless you could.
I don't have a specific number, but it's not only the people that are sitting in jail. So we know that there is a significant amount. I mean, I can just tell you anecdotal from when I was with the public defender. I was one caseload. I was one attorney, and I believe that there probably was about 15 or 20 public defenders in Alachua County. So one county, one attorney. And I can tell you at any given point, I must have had 30 to 50 at any given point misdemeanor charges for simple possession. So if that's just me, one attorney, magnified that by attorneys all across the state of Florida, and that was just active cases. And so if you look at the last 85 years of people who have been charged that are either still sitting in jail or the fact that it's still on their records, which are preventing them from potentially getting other types of jobs, may keep them out of getting certain types of insurance, whether it's on the property or casualty, even on bank loans when they see that those possession charges. So there are probably millions of individuals across our state between past charges and current charges.
Where do you think the opposition to any sort of legalizing cannabis marijuana comes from? I mean,
here in the state or across the country? In the state. I think there's a couple of things that are here in our state. I mean, we still have, look, if you poll it right now, it is going to pull over the threshold of a constitutional amendment. We all know that. So there are still those individuals that still believe that cannabis is a gateway drug. And so you still have that say no to drugs campaign that still goes on, that you still have those individuals that believe it, including our current Speaker of the House. Current Speaker of the House believes that cannabis creates psychosis. So you still have some of that leadership here in the Republican Party that are believing of that. But you also have other industries that historically were the reason why cannabis became prohibited. You had both on the hemp side, those that were involved in the paper industry, the cotton industry, the timber industry that helped put hemp as a prohibitive, drug. And those, and even on the medicinal side or legalization side of the cannabis plant, you have those competing markets, everything from tobacco to big alcohol, all those others, when there's now needs to be a realization that there's ways to work together, and it doesn't supplant one industry. It should be an opportunity to let entrepreneurs, that American dream of entrepreneurship is alive and well here in the cannabis industry, and there are ways to work together. So you still have some forces out here that are pushing back on legalization.
The governor seemed pretty receptive to medical marijuana. Do you anticipate he'll put any anticipation of how he'll react to your letter?
Look, this is one of those issues that we should be able to come together on. In the first few months, as we know, when we first all got elected, he helped to make sure that smokable flower became legal, and they dropped that lawsuit and seemed to be supportive of medical. So if that is the case, and that is truly where he believes, then this is an opportunity to actually show up and do this together. This should never be a partisan issue. That's how I won in 2018, because medical marijuana got voted in by 74% of people here in our state. And now I bet if you polled medical marijuana today, it's going to be way over that, in the 80s and the 90s. This is something that people can get behind. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story of a family member, a friend whose lives have been helped because of the access to cannabis in our state. And so if we are going to go on that, including our veterans, and somebody who served in the military, the governor knows firsthand how much our VA and our veterans are needing of this access. And so this should be something that we should be able to come together on.
Commissioner, as 20 states have legalized non-medical use marijuana, realistically, what do you think the timeline for Florida is to reach that point, if ever?
Well, it has to happen. It has to happen, and we've got three ways of doing this. Really two. You've got the legislature, which I do not believe that there is an appetite from this more conservative legislature to move in that direction. And then you've got the citizens' initiatives. We have a ballot initiative that they're working on signatures as of today to get on the 2024 ballot. I have complete confidence that if it gets onto the 2024 ballot, the people of our state will vote for it. I do have some concerns about some of the aspects of the language, but I think overall it's a move in the right direction. So it's just a matter of whether or not it gets on the ballot. I think it gets onto the ballot, it gets passed, and we'll have it here in the state.
Would you be seeking pardons here for things that are currently against state law?
Look, yes. That's the same thing. Right now in state law, cannabis is illegal unless you have a medical marijuana card. But as you've seen, local governments decriminalizing it already. You already have so many of your local governments that are doing tickets, civil citation tickets, and not arresting people. It's arbitrary. And so you still see that disparity between, somebody they pull over that might be of one color versus somebody of the black and brown community. So yes, I absolutely would. Simple possession is simple possession, regardless of of whether it was for medical or for not.
Now, in practical terms, what are we talking about as what would be an example of a felony cannabis offense in Florida?
So the way that it works is that anything under 20 grams is a misdemeanor. And so simple possession, you can have a simple possession of paraphernalia, which would be a third degree misdemeanor, and first degree if under 20. Over 20, it is a felony. And so that's kind of where, and I would say pardons for for simple possession, regardless of the amount, as long as it wasn't trafficking, that it was just felony level possession, then I believe that all those individuals should be pardoned, whether being a felony or a misdemeanor. The impact is the same as far as their record. One would hold a prison sentence of 1 year and a day, plus if they were actually convicted of a felony, whereas a misdemeanor is county jail. Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you.